I'm very pleased to be here, in part because I'm announcing publicly that in about 3 weeks, I'm taking a mini ski vacation with the Dead Men. The Dead Man is only statistically dead, John Jardine. John is an old friend and client of ours. As was noted earlier, I run a marketing, communications, and technology firm. John is head of a medical practice in Northern California. 52 years old, tall fellow, wears size 15 shoes, married 2 adult daughters. Life was good for him in 2009. He had reared his 2 daughters to successful careers. He had become a very accomplished adult athlete, having majored in college, or having starred in college in basketball. He had raised his daughters largely in Yosemite National Park, where they vacationed every year, camping, hiking. He's an avid skier. He's a 7-day workout kind of guy, plays basketball in a very aggressive civic league, basketball league with other ex-college basketball players, and everything was going great till the spring of 2009. And John started losing some weight. He started having a persistent cough he couldn't shake. Nothing serious, just a nagging cough. Couldn't get enough energy, couldn't get enough sleep. Went in for a physical, everything looked fine, nothing out of balance. So he went back and demanded more, and they took some x-rays, and then a CAT scan, and then some other tests, and what they found was that John, in about a period of 10 days, learned that he had not just cancer, but kidney cancer, stage 4, with metastases in over 100 locations in his lungs. So overnight, John's life went from perfect solitude and happiness to crisis. And at that point, of course, like any human being, he would ask, where now? What do I do? Where do I go next? I need some doctors, right? That's what we'd all think. I need to find some good doctors. So where do you find doctors these days? Good question. One place that I can't help noticing that doctors are suddenly appearing are on airplanes. I was on one not long ago, Continental Airlines, as it turned out, and I opened the in-flight magazine. I have nothing against in-flight magazines. I actually used to work for one. And to my knowledge, the single most advertised category in that magazine was healthcare. Best doctors in New York. Now, I remember when they used to do this for steakhouses. When did doctors get in on this action? So it was quite impressive to me that I'd be sitting peacefully in an airplane seat looking at a magazine published by the airlines, and I could find anything I wanted, from carpal tunnel syndrome to neurology to prostate cancer in that magazine. And the more I leafed through it, the more impressed I was at how much doctors seemed to want to talk to me through that magazine. The 1995 shirt specials and the Know Your Plane section. And I thought, this is interesting. I can sit here and plan my life, especially if I have a health crisis. I'm in the right place to be on an airplane. I can think about getting that carpal tunnel syndrome worked on finally. I can get a beautiful new smile. Hey, I can work on maybe some neurological problems if I have a deficit. You know, I can do all this. I can order a Coca-Cola with some highly caffeinated, carbonated beverages from the flight attendant right there. I can think about what color shirt I'm going to order and how good my monogram is going to look on the sleeves. And once I've done all that, I can think about getting my prostate tuned up, and I can get a dating service working for me. Pretty good. Health services on a plane. You can't get away from them now. But that doesn't really help out John Jardine, does it? John's not going to go on an airplane next. His next step is to do what? Well, these days is very different for next step compared to 20 years ago. These days, almost everybody goes to a computer whenever there's a news about their personal health. And John did this. Not only John, but his wife and his 2 daughters. And they spent days and weeks and countless hours surfing the internet. And what evolved was a very interesting process that we see over and over again in our business. It's an unfolding event where first people gather information, and increasingly that information is gathered not from healthcare providers, but it's gathered from other patients. John had a very big decision to make at one point, and that is, what was he going to do next? An oncologist told him he had 2 to 6 months to live. He had one shot at something. What would it be? He found probably the best answer inadvertently through a YouTube video. A fellow renal cell carcinoma patient went on and talked on YouTube for 10 minutes. His son filmed this. It's very, very crude. You can see it yourself. Bob Gallner is his name. It's only had 10,000 or so, 11,000, 12,000 viewings. But those 12,000 viewings are probably some of the most important video on the web. At least it was for John, because it helped him decide what to do next. Mr. Gallner had taken a course of treatment called interleukin, very common for RCC-type cancers. And it's also very aggressive. It's very toxic. It usually requires a 5-day stay in a hospital. It almost kills you before it cures you. And in fact, in some cases, the odds are almost even that interleukin will kill you as compared to curing you. So it's a big, big gamble on anybody's part. John decided, based on Mr. Gallner's video, that that was not for him. And as a result, he was able to ferret out some other drugs under testing now, wound up at the University of California, San Francisco, with a new program there, with a new type of chemical cocktail, as they call it. He took those, and I have to say, with great results. But as part of that great results came John's wonderful 4A plan. John came up with this himself: awareness, assessment, attitude, and approach. His first step was just what I described. He and his family went online to learn about his condition, possible opportunities and treatments. He assessed his own situation. Then he jacked up his attitude to get ready to do something about it, and went in with the most strong approach he could summon. So he had already had, by that point in time, a wedding scheduled in the family. His oldest daughter was getting married. This was 2 months from it. Went ahead with the wedding. 2 days later, he had his kidney removed, the entire kidney. 3 weeks later, he was back to work. A couple of months later, lung tumors had stopped growing. Some had even started shrinking, and within 6 months, he was back to his 1 hour a day gym workouts.